All right, guys, so this is the continuation of that global winds diagram. We're going to go ahead and take some notes and make sure we understand sort of what was going on there. So the first thing I want us to do is define global winds. Global winds are dominant wind patterns that blow in a fairly let's say constant, steady, direction across Earth. All right, so global winds. They're going to be relatively predictable because they're consistent. They're constantly in this same pattern. If you remember from the diagram, I said we are in the prevailing westerlies. Well, that's not going to change. We're not going to end up being in the trade winds. The reason is because these are determined and defined by your latitude lines. And since we are in certain lines of latitude, prevailing westerlies fall between those same lines of latitude. So that's how that has kind of come to be. All right, so global winds. Now we're going to take a look a little more closely at some of the global winds that we did write down and talk about sort of the features for each of them. All right, I'm going to have to switch over to another whiteboard for this, so make sure you've got this one written down. What am I looking for? I'm looking for something in my binder here. Okay. Next whiteboard. All right, the first thing I want us to go ahead and define, let's define the doldrums. The doldrums. So I'm going to use black again, just keep it consistent. This thing does not want to write, and this is my new stylus. It must be my error. All right, doldrums are a narrow, wind belt near the equator with very light, calm winds. And the latitude lines for those, it's from 0 degrees to 5 degrees north and 5 degrees south. Those are our doldrums. All right, we're going to work our way out. So from the doldrums, the next one we would encounter are the trade winds. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the trade winds next. All right, so we've got northeast, I'm going to abbreviate, and we've got southeast trade winds. So basically, from 30 degrees latitude, so 30 degrees north, or 30 degrees south latitude, to 5 degrees, because that's where the doldrums start. The trade winds flow from east to west. And again, that's how they get their names. So they've got northeast trades because they come from a northeastern direction, southeast trades because it's on the other hemisphere coming from the southeast direction. And those are going towards the doldrums. So far, so good. All right, let's move on. Let's do prevailing westerlies, because that would be next. All right, our next guy here, prevailing westerlies. So this is from the 30-degree latitude marks. So 30-degree latitude, either north or south, to 60-degree latitude, again, north and south, westerlies flow from the west to the east, and a big thing that is important is it is the United States wind belt. It's where we are located within. All right, so we've talked about doldrums. Then came north and southeast trade winds. Moving out a little further came prevailing westerlies. And now on to the last one, which is our polar easterlies. Polar easterlies. Polar easterlies are located from .60 degrees latitude, that's north or south again, to the poles. They flow from east to west. All right, guys, so this is the end of the notes part of this. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. I've got one more thing. In the diagram, I didn't talk about it yet, but I am going to address it now. Let's see here if I can go back. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can go back to any of the previous whiteboards. Can I? No. All right, so I'm going to really quickly draw the picture that we had done just a minute ago. So let me do a new whiteboard. So right here, and this is not going to be the whole thing, but you can just add this to yours. So there is a line that is known as something called the horse latitudes. The horse latitudes. And what the horse latitudes are lines where there was sort of a lull that was taking place. So on those 30-degree marks that you have on your map at 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south, these need to be labeled. I forgot to put that. They are called horse latitudes. And they get their name because explorers, people that were traveling with a lot of cargo, would get to these areas, and all of a sudden their ships would not go as fast. So guess what they would throw overboard to help make them go a little more quickly? Yep, you guessed it. Their horses would be bye-bye. They would be goners. They would be thrown overboard. And maybe that's where seahorses came from. I don't know. But horse latitudes, you got to label those 30-degree and right on the line, not the region between. We had been labeling the belts between it, but that exact line of latitude, 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south, are horse latitudes. All right, now we're done with our notes part for today, and you've got a wrap up to complete in the next step.